All right, so we're going to review prime composite factors and multiples. So we started chapter 8. What's chapter 8? What's the whole thing about?
Fractions.
It's all about fractions, right? Let's see.
I don't think I was here in chapter 8.
You were here for factors and multiples for sure. I'm just going to pull up one of these because I don't think that. Yep. All right, so let's take a look at this. Yes, you don't have a 0, but if you will, write a 0 up above the number 1.
Wait, like 1 and itself?
Just write it right up above the number 1. You can even like put a little box around it so you know that we're just adding the 0 to it. All right, so starting out our fractions chapter, we haven't even talked about fractions yet, which we're going to today. But we do need to review what we have been talking about. Factors and multiples, which you already know.
Can we put a box around this one?
Like this. Let me see. You can just stick the 0 on top like that. Add it to your chart. So let's review factors and multiples. You learned about those way back in the multiplication chapter, like chapter 3, I think. So what are factors? Numbers that what, Ryder? Numbers that we multiply together, like 2 times 3, right? Those are factors. Now, a factor, yes, there are 2 numbers that's multiplied together, but let's think about the inverse of multiplication. What is that, everybody? Division. So let's think about what a factor is in division. If I'm missing a factor, I can say that a factor is a number that will divide a product evenly. Because if I'm missing this factor, how do I find what's missing? I need to divide. So yes, factors are multiplied together, but you can also say that a factor can divide a number evenly, right? Okay. Now, multiples. What are multiples like? Skip counting. My multiples and my factors, they're related because they both have to do with what? Multiplication. But they're opposites. They're not similar because my factors give me my answers and my multiples are my answers. They're my products. So multiples are like if we're skip counting, right? Woohoo. Y'all with me? Yes. Yes, sir, Ryder?
Products and multiples are basically the same thing because it's multiples of just products already made.
That is right. Ryder brings up a good point. Products and multiples are the same thing, right?
Yes,
But factors and multiples, factors and products are not, correct? Okay, so hold. You're supposed to have that drawn on top. That 0. The 0. They do this. All right, so now let's look at prime and composite, which is what this sheet is going to be for. So flip over to the back of this. Prime and composite. What is my what's my hint for prime numbers? Picky, right? So I want everybody to write picky. Wherever you see prime, I want you to write picky. Wherever you see prime, I want you to write picky. The reason why we call our prime numbers picky is because all right, so let's think of my factor pairs for 2. Let's think of numbers I can multiply together to get 2. So what are some numbers I can multiply together? Right. Well, y'all tell me.
1 times
1 times 2, right? Okay, what else?
That's it.
That's it, all right? What about 3?
3 times 3.
1 times 3. Anything else?
No.
What about 23?
1 times 3.
Anything else?
No.
All right, so there's some examples, but let's look at some more examples. All right, so what are some numbers I can multiply to give me 9? Remember, I want you to start with 1 and what else?
3 times 3.
All right, good. What about 15?
1 times 15.
Why do I want you to start with 1?
Because it will always go into
It always works for every single number, right? Whether it's prime or composite. All right, what else?
3 times 5.
All right, and then that's it. All right, what about 21?
1 times 21.
What else?
1 times 7.
All right, good. All right, now 100.
Oh,
Hang on, let me move it up because I think I'm going to need the room. 1 times 100.
3 times 50.
Good.
4 times 25.
Good.
5 times 25.
Good.
10 times 10. I said 10 times.
And whenever I get to one that repeats like that, we know that we're done finding my factors, right? And we'll review that too in a minute. Okay, so how many factors are underneath number 2?
1.
Well, 1 factor pair, right? Or 2 factors, right? How many are underneath 3? 1 factor pair or 2 factors. How many factor pairs here? Just 1 factor pair or 2 factors. You got to know it's the same. If I say 2 factors, you know that's the same as 1 factor pair, because how many have to be in a pair? 2. All right? But whenever you get down here and look at these, we'll do factor pairs. How many factor pairs do I have? 2. How many do I have here? 2. How many here?
2.
How many here?
5.
All right, so here's the thing. If you can remember, prime numbers are picky, you're good. Because prime numbers are picky, like 23, 3, and 2, because they'll only multiply all of their factors are 1 and themselves. 1 and themselves, right? 1 and themselves. Do you see how those only have 1 factor pair?
Yes.
They have exactly 2 factors. Do they have more than 2?
No.
Do they have more than 1 factor pair? They have exactly 1, so they're picky. Those are prime numbers. So 23 is a prime number, 3 is a prime number, 2 is a prime number. Now there's more, but those are my prime numbers. Why are they prime?
Because they only like 1 and picky.
They're picky. They only like 1 times themselves, right? Now, look at the rest of these numbers. If you can remember that prime is picky, all the other numbers that are not picky are called what?
Composite.
Composite. It doesn't matter if they have 2 factor pairs or if they have 5 factor pairs or 10 or 20. If they have more than 1 factor pair, they are what? Composite. All right, so we're going to look at this sheet. So you have examples on here, prime and composite definitions. You put picky above your prime, right? Flip over to the back. Now we did this last week, but we're going to do it again a little quicker. Let's go back here. So I had you all to add 0 up here, right? You need to make a note down at the bottom of this page that we do have prime, we do have composite, and we also have what? Neither. So down at the bottom, I want you to write this. We have 2 numbers that are neither prime nor composite.
So we just put neither?
Mm-hmm. And what are those?
1 and 0.
Because the only number that will multiply and give me 0 is 0. 0 times 0, right? And then the only number that will give me 1 is 1 times 1. So technically I only have 1 number there. All right? So what we're going to do here on this chart, we're going to mark out all of our composite numbers. Okay? Because prime or picky, which one do you think we're going to have more of? Picky numbers or composite numbers?
Composite.
We're going to have more composite because picky numbers are picky, right? They don't like a lot. All right, so let's go ahead and mark off 0 and 1. Why am I marking off 0 and 1? They're neither. They're going to try and trick you, but they are neither. Okay? Now, remember, let's start with 2.
Prime.
It's prime. Good. Why did Addison say it's prime?
Because only 1 times 2 makes it happen.
Only 1 times 2 are its factors. It only likes 1 times itself, right? So that means it's prime. So we're circling it. All right. Now, let's look at all my other multiples of 2. All of my multiples of 2 are what?
Even. So they're composite.
So they're composite. It doesn't matter how many factors these even numbers have. All of my even numbers,
Are composite.
like, they'll divide by what number?
2.
2. So if they'll all divide by 2, guess what they all are?
Composite.
They're all composite because they like more than 1 in themselves. They all like what number? 2. So let's mark out all of our even numbers. So I'm going to go straight down my 2's. Make sure you put these X's on them good. I'm going to go down my 4's. My 6's. My 8's. And then my what? I've marked off all of my even numbers except for what number? 2. And 0 was already marked off because 0 is neither. So the only even number that is composite, or sorry, the only even number that is prime is what number?
2.
Paul, keep those hands off that face. 2. All right, so let's move to 3. Think of your multiples of 3. What are my multiples?
1. Prime.
1 times 3. Are there any more?
No.
So Addison says that 3 is, do you agree? Why do you agree?
Because
only 1 times 3
equals 3.
It only likes 1 times 3, right? Okay. Now, here's the thing though, is we need to go through and mark out the rest of my multiples of 3. Because 3 times 2 will give me what?
6.
Which we've already marked it off. But what's 3 times 3? 9.
It's
That means that 9 can be divided by 3. So, is 9 prime?
no.
No, because it likes 3. So, we're going to mark out 9. Whoops. And I'm just going to count by 3. So, 6 is already marked out 9. 1, 2, 3. 12 is marked out. 1, 2, mark out 15. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Mark out 21. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Mark out 27. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Mark out 33. 1, 2. Whoops. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Mark out 39.
Why do you count by 30?
Because I'm doing all my multiples of 3. Because if I can multiply,
It by 3. That means it can be.
that means it can be divided by 3. And if it can be divided by 3,
That means it's
then it's
composite.
not picky. It's composite. It likes more than 1 in itself. It's gonna make sense in a minute. It's gonna. This is a trick to mark off all my composite numbers 0 through 100. It'll make more sense in a minute once we start talking about it. Mr. Parker?
When we done our last break, I looked and it was every time it was 1 that we marked off, and then skip 2, and then another one that we
Yes, there are like little patterns that will come out too while we're marking these off. All right, so where did I stop at?
40.
So I did 39, so 1, 2, 3, 42 is already gone. 1, 2, 3, mark off 45. 1, 2, 3, 48 is already gone. 1, 2, 3, mark off 51. 1, 2, 3, 54 is already gone. 1, 2, 3, mark off 57. 1, 2, 3, 60's gone. 1, 2, 3, mark off 63. 1, 2, 3, 66 is gone. 1, 2, 3, mark out 69. 1, 2, 3, 72 is gone. 1, 2, 3, mark off 75. 1, 2, 3, 78 is gone. 81, mark it off. Mark off 87. Mark off 93. And then mark off 99. We're about to double check. Just double check with me, Hall. On this first column, you should have, these should be blank. Shouldn't have anything on them. 11, 31, 41, 61, 71, 91. All your 2s are marked out, right? On 3s, 3 should be circled, but then 13, 23, 43, 53, 73, 83 should be blank, right? And then all your 4s are marked off. So 5s, I should have 5, 25, 35, 55, 65, 85, 95. 7s, I should have 7, 17, 37, 47, 67, 77, and 97. And then my 9s, 19, 29, 49, 59, 79, 89. All right, so now we move on to my 4s. But my 4s are marked out. And all of my multiples of 4 are marked out. Because all of my multiples of 4 are even. All right, now let's look at 5. What are my factors of 5?
Anything with a 5 or a 0.
Well, that's my multiples. But what are my factors of 5? What can I multiply? 1 and 5. Is there anything else? So 5 is prime. But
All the rest, all of them, they're multiple knocked out.
all of these below the 5 will like 25. You know 5 times 5. Simply because it's 5 times 5, so Berkeley Cooper, this is a really good example. So since we know 5 times 5, we can mark 25 out. It's composite. 35, what do you know?
7 times 5.
It's composite. It doesn't matter if it has more. As long as you know 1, it's going to knock it out. What about 55?
11 times 5.
If it ends in a 5, you know what number is going to divide into it. 5. So the only number that ends in a 5, that's prime, is what?
5.
Same thing with 2. The only even number that is prime is what? 2. All my 6s are already marked out. Why?
Because they're all even.
They're all even.
2 will divide into it.
Yeah, 2 goes into it, so that knocks all of them out. Now 7. Not all of my 7s are marked out. But first, let's talk about 7. What are my factors of 7?
1 times 7.
1 times 7. What can I multiply to get 7?
1 times 7.
Anything else? So it's picky. I'm picking out all the prime numbers, the numbers that only like 1 in themselves, right? So I want to circle 7, but now I need to mark off all my multiples of 7. Now 7's odd. So we haven't marked out all those multiples yet. So I'm going to count. We're not going to mark out many, so I'm going to count quick, but I'm going to tell you when I mark one out, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or actually, you know what? I don't have to check this because what's 7 times 12, boys and girls?
84.
84. Well, no, I probably need to. Never mind. Let's just go through it. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Marked off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Marked off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Marked off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Marked off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Marked off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, 49. Mark it off. Because what number
7
likes
times
49?
7 times 7.
Very good. And if 7 will go into 49, it's got to be composite. All right, so after 49, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 77, mark it off.
11 times 7.
Very good. If you can find one other thing that will go into it, one other number that can multiply and give it to you, it's got to be composite. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mark out 91. And then we know 91 plus 7 is 98, and it's marked out. We're getting close. All of my multiples of 8 have been marked out because all multiples of 8 are even. Now 9.
We gotta do that.
We could, but all my multiples of 9 are already marked out because why, Kate?
They're multiples of 3 as well.
All my multiples of 9 are also multiples of 3 because I do,
3 times.
think about your skip count by 3. So I have 3, 6.
9.
So for every 9, there's 3 inside. So I could go through and mark out 18, but guess what? 3 times 6 is also 18. And then 27. 3 times 9 is 27. So because there's a 3 in every group of 9, I've already got those marked off. So now we're ready to circle my prime numbers from 0 to 100. So double check that you have 2 circled. You have 3 circled. 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19. 2, 3, 5, 7. That's on the first row. Then on the second row, 11, 13, 17, 19.
I kind of get it now.
Good. Then circle 23 and 29. Now, stay with me on this because if you didn't mark one off, you need to catch that. 31 and 37.
Are we circling everything else?
Yeah, we're circling everything else that's left, but double check and make sure you have the same thing circled as me. Then 41, 43, 47. Then 53, 59. Then 61, 67. Then 71, 73, 79. 83, 89, 97. So if you will count your circles, you should have 25 circles. 1, and always double check them because